Okay?
All right, everybody, we're ready. Nate, tell them we're ready.
Here we go. All right. Well, good evening. Can everyone hear me okay? Without microphone? Okay. I assume silence means you either can or you can't hear me. So. Okay, well, good evening. Thanks for having us. My name is Stephen Allen with Williams Blackstock Architects in Birmingham. Along with me is Ryan Stegman with Williams Blackstock as well. And then many of you may know, we've met many of you, but also Ryan Coleman with Difference Architecture here in Sylacauga. So this evening we can go as quick or as long as you would like, but we would like to present where we are with the study that we've been working on to create a development vision with Sylacauga Parks and Rec and the City of Sylacauga over the past 8 to 10 months. Have met several times, and tonight have kind of curtailed our presentation to try to provide you with an effective overview of kind of the overall development vision. So speaking of vision, the idea just at a big high level was when we got started looking at all the parks and rec with the idea of a community center, a rec center, also was to create a state-of-the-art facilities for athletic and community functions that enhance the quality of life for Sylacauga citizens through vital services that bring people together. And I think another way to say that is really this is an opportunity to elevate the quality of life for everyone that lives in Sylacauga and you know, create a desirable place for other people to move to the city. So we looked at various parks and rec needs, and we focused on the idea of a new rec center to meet various needs that the city and Parks and Rec have talked about for a long time. So with that, I'm gonna try to point. We looked at various site locations for feasibility, and we settled on this property just north of City Hall, down Broadway or Highway 21. And as a feasible piece of property, it's this property right here, right at Broadway, and then it's bisected by Central Avenue, just north of 10th Avenue. When we looked at this property, we really tried to focus on, is this an effective piece of property with development considerations that we looked at? Can it have a huge community impact, a wide community impact that's positive? Can it have visibility and prominence? Can it create an active hub, a hub of activity with multiple functions? Is there enough room on the site for it to do that? And can we support and create the idea of an overall development vision so that we really paint an idea, a picture, a vision for what this site, how this site could be developed even over a long period of time with phasing as needed. And we also looked at pedestrian and vehicular connectivity and just the realistic nature of how easy is it to develop with you know, things like earthwork, moving a lot of dirt, make sure it's effective. And then lastly, we settled on, is this enough developable area to create the vision? And we came up with, the answer was yes. So, without further ado, we developed this overall project scope and how it could fit on the property. The project scope, through hearing and listening and talking with various people throughout the city, the scope kind of desired was an indoor pool, gymnasium with at least 2 courts if possible, and then supporting, those are the 2 primary things, and then supporting those are you know, various functions such as locker rooms, toilets, a small fitness area, a lobby of course, that services all of this, and then maybe a small meeting room or meeting rooms for 20 or so person capacity, as well as necessary administrative offices, and then finally what we all know that we need, appropriate adequate parking as well. So on the site here, just want to go through this site plan for a second. This is Highway 21, Broadway. We're down here several blocks. The gas station right here, you might have come to Jack's right here once or twice in the past. So the idea is to create a facility that would have a great visible presence as you pass by, and clear and safe vehicular entry point with parking and drop-off spot, and that facility would house the indoor pool and the gymnasium with 2 courts, and then it would really be bisected or connected by lobby and connective functions such as the locker rooms and toilets here. And then Central Avenue behind it could be used for service access, so that you don't see all the service needs when you drive up, and you have great curb appeal for the facility. So one thing we looked at, we're looking at this at a really high level, even though these drawings hopefully look very resolved. This is also a lot of dreaming. So we kind of also have looked at, well, if we need more parking, or how much parking do we need, we have the ability to expand just across the creek, which is really feasible because there's already built culvert there that we could just build right over and have additional parking in this area. So part of this was us testing, the site, doing a test fit, so to speak, and making sure, can this fit, and can it fit with the appropriate amount of parking, especially if you have games going on at all of the courts and pool possibly. So this is kind of, the idea of an overall first phase vision for how this development, how this new rec center vision could be realized. And we've also worked with a professional cost estimator to look at current dollars, even escalating out some, and looked at a construction cost range of around $22 to $25 million. And we keep that as a range because we're fairly early on, and there's a lot of decisions to be made that could go lower or higher, the low end of the range or high end of the range. So we think that's important to really kind of provide some space there for good decisions to be made. And then we've also added to the construction cost range what we call a project cost range. Difference between construction costs and project costs really deals with additional costs that you would pay separate to from a general contractor. The construction cost would be, this would be a publicly bid project, so that cost would go to the lowest and most responsible general contractor that bids on the work, and it's kind of everything that's in the ground and on the building fixed and can't be moved. So the project cost is on top of that. That would be for things like furniture and equipment that a contractor would not purchase. That could be anything from all the tables and chairs to the pool timing equipment and various things, and lane lines and things like that there's really no need for a contractor to purchase when the city could purchase those directly. But we think it's important to kind of have that overall cost range in mind. That also includes things like our fees, which we would be very fortunate to have, and as well as construction materials testing, site survey, and any potential finance, cost, things like that. So that range is around 28 to 31 million. Again, it's early on. A lot of different decisions could be made and will be made that affect where that goes from here. So this is a kind of a really high level aerial view. It doesn't have as many trees shown, but you can kind of see just how that facility kind of starts to come out of the ground. These would be tall. This would be a tall building because the gymnasium and the pool have a high clear ceiling height. We think that's really a good thing because it would provide a great presence for the city of Sylacauga. This building, this facility would really represent the whole city and really quality of life here. So one thing we looked at some example images of character and image of other rec centers, some that we've worked on, some that are just examples. And from that, we developed just a very, very quick conceptual rendering of how this could look. Again, this is how your facility could look. What you see here is the lobby in the middle, indoor pool on the left, and gymnasium on the right. This is extremely early on. We really don't know exactly what it would look like, but we think it helps people, it helps us to see things visually and to get an idea of how tall things are, how big things are. As you pull up, get excited about the visual impact of seeing things. So that's really what the purpose of this is, just to kind of give you a visual. Some people can read a plan or site plan very effectively, or some people this helps. So we kind of just want to be able to illustrate the overall idea to you in a variety of ways. So that really represents the idea of this first phase of what could be a long-term vision. And part of our challenge was to look, how could you develop this entire site in a way, whether it takes 1 year or 30 years, but how could it be developed in a way that really supports an overall vision and idea for the site. So a few things we looked at, you see the pool and gym and parking here and here that we were looking at just a second ago, but a way that could be rounded out is you can have a nice pedestrian sidewalk connector down to 10th Avenue here and have a dog park with kind of a linear pocket park right there at the corner, and really kind of help create just an overall park-like setting for this facility. And then you could add on to the back of the pool building anytime with future outdoor pools. This could be a pool or pools. What we've shown here and what we kind of did a test layout for was, could we fit two pools back there? One being a 50-meter pool, which is long, big, for competition, conditioning, things like that, swim meets, and then also a leisure pool. That's more of a fun activity pool. It could have zero entry. You see that at a lot of different facilities, a lot of different municipalities have that have built more recent pools, and it's really quite a draw. And then next to last, over here, we carved out a small area that could be an out parcel for commercial development that the city would not develop, but the idea is there is space for it, and it could be developed in concert as part of the overall vision to where it really supports this overall development, how it looks, how it sits on the site, and I think it would be a really desirable commercial parcel for someone to come in. And then with that, there's the opportunity to create in zoning in your zoning ordinance what's called a planned unit development, where some provisions could be outlined to where this development, this commercial out parcel, could be created in a consistent manner that helps to really work cohesively with the overall rec center and everything else that is developed. And then lastly, just north of Central Avenue, we looked at the possibility of, could you create some residential, just a small strip of residential here. This may be long-term, but you know, the challenge for us was, could it fit? Would it be feasible? We're not developers. We don't, know exactly what they would do. What we showed here were, the possibility of like a duplex or fourplex, 2-story townhouse, something like that. You could look at a variety of different densities and layouts there, but we really kept just a narrow strip along the street, because if you start going further north, it gets really steep, really fast, and probably becomes feasibly difficult to achieve. So that's kind of an ongoing, feasibility study, but that is create a vision, paint a vision, and kind of like Kevin Costner says in Field of Dreams, if you dream it, they will come. He doesn't say it quite like that. We'll go with it. So here you can see how that overall development could occur. You see this nice walk that stitches everything together from the dog park and the linear park down at 10th. Heading north, lobby for the pool and the gym, the outdoor pool behind it, and then all the way to the commercial development here that fronts Highway 21, and then the potential for residential development long-term as well. So that was really kind of how this piece of property could be developed to house a rec center and create an overall vision for this site. We also looked at Beth Yates Park and the municipal pool site. As you know, the municipal pool site has been not in use for several years. Part of our task, part of our challenge was to assess the existing pool, and we had a pool consultant do that. The pool was drained, and we looked at the feasibility of renovating it, and what we realized was the cost to renovate a pool of this age basically started to be close to the cost of a new pool once you really looked at what are you getting for the renovation versus the amazing amount of return you could get for a new pool functionally. So we looked at a vision of removing this and meeting other needs within the city. And this may be a long-term goal or a separate goal, but kind of how it fits into the overall Parks and Rec vision. We looked at creating 8 new pickleball courts with outdoor lighting, sidewalk improvements, and really a great new pickleball facility. And in this scheme, looked at renovating the existing building to create necessary facilities for the pickleball courts. I think that could play a huge role.
How much, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. How much is that right there?
Oof. I'm gonna have to go back and look.
Okay, that's fine, you get it to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Sorry about that.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I might get there. So then we also looked at Beth Yates Park and renovating and moving around some of the tennis courts there. Those courts are in need of some repair and upgrades. So we looked at 6 new tennis courts with outdoor lighting, fencing of course, a new pro shop, sidewalk improvements, landscaping, and parking expansion to be more purposeful for the park there. And that's it. Pretty straightforward, but I would like to thank all the input, from everyone that we received. This presentation is meant to be kind of short and sweet, but a lot of, thought and a lot of discussion have gone into all of this, and wanted to wrap it up, summarize it for you.
I had just one question. At the beginning, how much is it to build the community center and,
Go back to that
yeah,
slide.
will you go back to the first slide? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Wanna make sure my glasses thing is followed up, I think.
He gave a range,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. So and that, to build it is from 28 to 31?
Construction costs would be between 22 and 25, the project range would be between 28 and 31. Of course, Nate, there's a lot of decisions to be made that dictate that range to the low end or to the high end.
It just depends on what you want, what you can afford.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good presentation.
Thank you.
2.8 for that is what the budget was. That's not just to build pickleball courts, that's to renovate that building that
Yes,
had
sir.
some ADA concerns that need to be addressed. New roof,
Right.
things about, and there is another option on that site to where you don't necessarily need that big building for pickleball. You could demo it and have a small restroom facility and maybe come out better.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But I will say, I think the location is probably the best location in the city. You know, that is in the best district, just saying. Just thought I'd throw that
Here
out
we go.
there. That's our district, Jeff.
Thank y'all for what you've done. I know y'all
Thank
worked
you.
hard with our Parks and Rec and all their team members and our boards, and so we really appreciate it. And we appreciate Ryan getting us in contact with y'all, I know.
Ryan's been a big part of it as well.
Ryan's a big part in everything.
Any other questions? I know we've got questions. Brian, you don't have a question?
Madam President, you
Very
have.
well. This is a very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Do we need to discuss we need to discuss like next steps?
Hey, I got a question. So the pool and gym, is that the council's like first step in all this? Is this broken down in phases?
Yes, that's phase one that was just presented. And I think your question goes along with what Steve was just mentioning. What's the next step? The first step towards this would be, there was a proposal given to our council 6 months ago.
6 April.
And you guys approved phase one of that proposal, and then phase two of that proposal was also in there. So what it would take would be the council approving us to move forward with the phase two, which has already been presented to you guys. You guys just have to review it. And what that would start is the schematic design process to get us to the bid documents. And that's about a 9-month process that's spelled out in that proposal that you already have. And what that does is it gets us started on the design work so that we're prepared to be bidding in 9 months. If y'all's time frame slows down or finding the funds through the bond market pushes the bid date, it doesn't really matter to us. What matters to us is you would start that phase so that we could get started on full design, and so that you're prepared once the time you get the money to start constructing this building. Yeah.
So, I'll add to that. When we did the cost estimating and we looked at these ranges, part of this also includes, construction has been crazily volatile as far as construction costs. It has gotten better, but what we've tried to do here is working with our estimator, look out around 12 months, 8 to 12 months, to say what do we think? That's a dangerous concept, but what do we think the cost escalation would be at that time, and factor that in. So to Ryan's point, it does take us, if you were to say go today or in a month or whenever it is, it's probably around a 9-month, maybe 7 or 8 months, it may depend, for us to do all of the phases to get to full construction documents that are biddable to a set of general contractors. you know, those construction documents will be a really thick 30-inch by 42-inch set of drawings and specifications, not a high level like this. So that does provide the ability for us to keep working while you work through going through the bond market and any other internal things the city needs to do. You know, we will need to do things like get a site survey so that we can, you know, fully get our civil engineer involved and you know, fully understand all the technical intricacies of the site. So all those things take time. And I remember when we were talking about our proposal and agreement, and you approved phase one, one of the questions was, are there provisions in that proposal and our agreement to stop and kind of have incremental stopping points? And there are. Our phase two of work is set up into 5 standard phases, sub-phases within that phase two. The first 3 would be schematic design, design development, and construction documents. So that really takes the design at a high level like this and develops it a little further at each stage. At the end of construction documents, it's a full set of documents ready to bid. So you can tell us to stop, go, slow down, speed up anytime, and that's a cost control method for you. Say that?
In parallel, do there need to be any discussions with Aldott to make sure there are no brick walls we might get as we get closer because they control 21?
Yes, yes. So I think within that 9 months, there's all sorts of things that would need to occur. We would be working with Aldott because if we want access off of Highway 21 or any state-controlled road, that would be a standard part of the process. So we would be working with them early to make sure there's no roadblocks, and then going through that permitting process early.
But what about asking Aldott now before we use the 9 months for the next year?
Well, it would, yeah, we can go ahead and do that. Conceptually, we've done that at a conceptual level. They're ready for us to just say, okay, start developing your plans. But I think that gets into, you know, a whole nother set of meetings with our civil engineer. So our civil engineer is ready to kind of get started on that whenever. So I think similarly with Alabama Power, we would do similar coordination because there's power lines
Or
on
Silicon
the site.
Utilities.
Yeah, and all the utilities, yeah. So. We would also, you know, employ work with a geotechnical engineer to do drilling at the proposed site during that time to make sure our structural engineer has the necessary scientific data to design the building foundations correctly.
Got a question. It's okay for the council. That's a question. So when you say the council decides to move forward with this project, then the soft costs that you're talking about right now in terms of you all preparing to do your design, do some of your land work, do some of the Aldott type work, there's a cost involved with that, correct? And
Yes, sir.
That's a part of those numbers that you have there.
Yes, sir.
And it's part of the project costs.
Right.
You know, relative to that. And I guess the question I have, I mean, that's just normal ways that you get deals done, you know, there. But there's, I'm thinking on the city side, there are ways to deal with those issues relative to costs. There'll be, the clock starts rolling when they approve for you to move forward. And that's, to deal with that, there is a way to nail down some of those costs that actually arise as you go and do your work.
Yes, sir. Okay.
And the council has in the proposal for phase two exactly how the fee structure is broken down from schematic, design development, and construction documents. So all of that's based on construction costs and estimates right up front because you don't have the bid, you don't have the low bidder yet, right? So there's some assumptions made, but you can easily come up with the budget that the city would be out if you approved us to start now, you know.
And one thing, just for the city, and what I mean by that is, these are costs that city would have to absorb just based on, not bond funds, but based on their general fund. And there are reimbursement type of resolutions that can be put in place to where when you really get ready to consummate the transaction, to where you're funding the construction side of it, the funds that you get from the bond funds can be used to flow back into the city, where those costs that get expended, they're now
Right.
part of the bond transaction, you know, there, so.
Yes, sir.
That's kind of that's a safeguard for a city that's expending money, that you have the option of getting it back, or you can leave it into the project where you don't borrow as much. Those are just
Yeah.
normal ways to do that type of stuff.
That's a great point, and I think to add to that, you know, our relationship on this project will really go for another 2 to 3 years.
Yes.
So that cost is very much spent in small increments. It's not all spent at once. You know, we work on the project all the way through design, through bidding to a general contractor, then we work closely with the city and the general contractor during their construction, as your agent, as the city's agent. So our fees are spent in small increments throughout that entire, say, call it 2.5 or plus or minus years. So that's a great point. It's not like all of that cost comes at once. I've yet to find anyone that will pay us for everything right at the beginning, and frankly, that would scare me to death. So,
Sure.
yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys again for all the work.
Thank you, yeah.
Madam President, are you good? You got anything to say or add?
I don't have any
Take it
questions.
away.
I'm excited. I think I've been, anticipating and waiting for this update for quite some time, so I'm really excited. Thank you guys for, everything that you've done, and I can't wait to, get with the council so we can, plan our next move.
Perfect, thank you.
You have questions? I guess we'll, go back up and, reconvene.